I was 9 years old, and one Monday morning, I was ready to go to school. I remember it was a Monday because the previous day I was playing soccer with friends and I hurt myself. Okay, so I always remember that day. One of my aunties just walked into the house and she was hysterical. She was crying, and she broke the news that my mom had just died. As a kid, I didn't really know what that meant. But I got to understand that a few years later. Now, a year after that, my father also died. So I had to go and live in Matero with my grandmother. Anyone from Matero here? I love that place. It made me who I am today. As you can imagine, growing up in a home where my grandmother was not married. Obviously, the husband died way before I was born. It was very hard, okay? And I always have this vivid memory of myself on one knee tying laces on my beaten down butter taffy shoes. You know, those shoes are tough, by the way. You know, it's not a joke, butter taffies. But imagine a butter taffy shoe that had a very messed up relationship between the uppers and the sole. Okay, so after tying my laces, I had to put a rubber band on my shoe to hold it together so that as I walked, it wasn't talking. And I always remember my grandmother standing in the doorway of her bedroom in her little house, looking at me as I was tying those laces with so much passion, because I've always been a passionate person. And it's not the fact that I never had shoes in that moment that always hates me. It's the look on my grandmother's face. She was broken. And that used to cause me a lot of pain. My grandmother was a very special force in my life. And when my mother died, I think it really broke her, you know. But she tried her best to be strong for me, and I'll always be grateful for that. And shoes were not the only problem growing up. It was a whole lot of stuff. I was a happy kid, I think, considering the circumstances at the time. But everything was a struggle, from school uniforms to clothes and school fees and everything else. Fast forward to where we are right now. If you love hip-hop, I'll just use this line. Birthdays were the worst days. Now we sip champagne when we're thirsty. You know? And then let's just follow through with the last one. Damn right, I like the life I live, because I went from negative to positive, and it's so. And if you don't know, you know the story, yeah? And then, obviously, one of my role models is Kanye West, so I can always put this line in, you know. Welcome to the good life. Where my grandmother and the only girl calling me baby. You know that line? Okay, but that was the past. As it is right now, I live in a sought-after neighborhood of Santon called Lone Hill. I don't struggle with shoes anymore. I actually have a shoe for every day. I think it would take me a while if I had to come back to the same shoe. You know? Life is good. I'm a director and partner at a context marketing company in South Africa called Real Promotions. Okay, if you want to find out more, we can talk about that, because we will be opening up in Zambia very soon. Now, the question I get from a lot of people is, what did it take for me to move from being that orphan kid to being this guy right here? Okay? It's a couple of things, and I'll be just sharing one or two insights today. It's a Saturday, right? Who in here has had a friend already ask them what's for the weekend? A lot of you, yes? That's how you know a lot of your friends are not going far in life. When was the last time a friend asked you what you're planning to do with your life in the next 5 years? That's what good friends do. You know, I'm grateful. Part of my success means I have very cool friends. I'm grateful 2 of my best friends are in here. They've been making fun of me the whole day, but I love them to death. And beginning of the year, my best friend and I were chatting, and we were just talking about what we want to do this year. And it was very interesting just picking each other's brains. Those are the kind of friends that you need. Now, that's a story for another day. Now, let me get back to why I'm asking if someone asks you what your plans are for the weekend. We've become so obsessed with Friday and Saturday that it messes up the way we plan, the way we work, and the way we live our lives. So a lot of people don't work on Saturdays and Sundays, yes? Now, there's 52 Saturdays in a year on average, and there's 52 Sundays. That makes up 104 days in a year. So come Monday, because you had such a hectic weekend, you finished your money, and you are tired, you're not putting in your best. You go through Monday complaining and dragging your feet. And Mondays, to a lot of people, are not the most productive day. That means you've just lost, on average, another 52 days in a year. Plus 104 days, you're sitting on 100 and, you do the math, yes? 156. So let's put together maybe 14 days in a year, which are public holidays and days off sick. How many days do you actually work? These are things we don't think about. So one of the things that helped me get to where I am right now is because there's no one right now, and I mean nobody that I know in my life that has outworked me. I'm the hardest working guy that I know. And this is a challenge I always put to everyone, including my own employees. I'm at the office every morning at 5:15. I wake up at 4. Okay, and I get home after 7 because I leave the office at 7. And I do this Monday to Saturday. That means if you're not working on a Saturday, I already have a full day more than you. If you don't like Monday, I already have another full day more than you do. And you start work at 9 and you finish at 5. I've got an extra 4 or 5 hours in a day that you don't have. When are you going to catch up? These are things that we don't think about, but that's the mindset that I needed to adapt to if I was going to make it out of Matero. Now, part of the reason a lot of people don't like Mondays is because they are not passionate about what they do. So I always say, a lot of people are looking for jobs and not work. Jobs because they want a salary. When you're looking for work, it means you're looking for an opportunity to create value for yourself. I realized at the age of 33, which was last year, that I had actually made $1 million in a year. That's not a joke. It feels good, but it also takes a lot of work. All right? I can jokingly say I'm wearing a Tag Heuer Formula 1 caliber 16. This watch is more expensive than my little Lexus. Not bad for a kid from Matero, yes? Exactly. But how hard do you work? And there's a whole lot of things we can talk about, but when we just start focusing on one day, which is a Monday, we begin to change a lot of things in our lives. Your success depends on your mental outlook. Everything that you want is here. Your politicians won't do much for you. Even your own education, that degree won't do much for you if your mental outlook on life is not right. So let's start from there. I like to go to gym, and I'm just beginning to love running right now. And one of the things I've realized is when the week begins, if I don't gym hard on a Monday, or if I don't run not less than 5Ks on a Monday, it's going to be very hard for me to exercise the rest of the week. So Monday always sets the tone. You set the tone for everything else you want to do. Now, in case you've never thought about this, Monday makes up 16% of your week. That's crazy. So one of the things that I do to make sure that my weeks are always productive, I've got a very simple goal. I need to smash not less than 20% of my weekly goals on a Monday. If I hit 20% of my goal, whatever my goals are for the week, on a Monday, and I hit another 20% on a Tuesday, I've got 5 days in the week to hit 60%, which is my balance. How easy is that? I know a lot of us in here want the good things, yes? I know you do. I love good things. I won't lie to you. Okay? Good things are just cool. And the people that say it's all material, no problem, because you can't afford it. Leave us alone. Okay? But every store that you go to charges in hard currency. They want the actual cash, yes? And when you begin to realize that every second of your life, every minute of your life, every hour of your life represents currency, maybe you change the way you look at life. I've got no time to waste. I've never drank alcohol my whole life. I can't afford being drunk and not knowing what I did the last 4 hours. Okay? I've never smoked, and I watch who I play with. Some of the conversations that go on in our circles, like I find it very hard to spend a lot of time with certain people because as guys, when you sit to chat, what do they want to talk about? How they drank last night, the chick they were with, how does that help me? So I spend time with some people and they start talking about that and I'm quiet and they're like, and you, Trevor, what did you do yesterday? It was a Saturday. I made about $50,000 yesterday. And then they obviously they don't like it, yeah? That's the problem with you. But that's all I know. Because life has taught me two things. You can only share what you have and you can only teach people what you know. And they say from the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. But what conversations are you having? Where do they originate from? They come from the time that you spend thinking about them. So what do I spend most of my time on? I'm always waking, I'm always reading, okay? I'm always bettering myself and developing myself. Okay. Like I say, there's a whole lot of things I can share about how I made it to where I am, but just this little insight is what I wanted to share with you today. And I don't care who you are and where you come from. I want you to look at my story and know it's not about me alone. It's about you too. What I am now, if you ask me to describe myself in one sentence, I am a model of possibilities. Thank you.